Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of The Gaggle, Peter Lavelle, host also of RT's talk show, Crosstalk. Well, yesterday was a very exciting day on Wall Street. Something very, very unusual happened. The big, powerful hedge funds had their clocks cleaned by small-time investors. What happened was the small-time investors got together on a Reddit chat forum and decided that some companies were being unfairly targeted by the giant hedge funds. They were targeted by something called short selling. Short selling, roughly speaking, because I'm not a technical person, roughly speaking, is a bet that a company's stock value will go down. So what happens is that hedge funds borrow money from a third party to bet against the company, bet that it will actually go down. And then, when it does go down, they have made a killing. If, however, somebody else decides that they're going to boost the value of the stock, then the hedge funds are in a lot of trouble because they've made a bet and the bet has turned out to be a disaster. And therefore, they have no other choice but to start buying the stock themselves, basically in order to satisfy their own shareholders. So that's what happened. And what happened with a video game retailer, GameStop. It was also happening with AMC movie theaters, as well as BlackBerry. So suddenly, all their stocks started surging, and a number of these hedge fund companies started complaining bitterly that they're out of pocket. But what happened was very unusual because the regulators suddenly got very, very indignant and stepped in demanding government regulation. This must not happen. The head of the SEC stepped in. The Treasury Secretary Yellen said she's watching this very, very carefully. And so now we have a situation where Wall Street, for the first time ever, is demanding regulation because we must not allow the mom and pop traders to mess up our little game whereby we make a lot of money by downgrading and essentially driving out of business others. One interesting feature is also that this Reddit chat forum, I think it's called Wall Street Bets. I've forgotten the name of it.
Wall Street Bets. Yeah.
Wall Street Bets. Yeah, has been kicked off as an app on Discord, which trades in these apps for, quote, hate speech, unquote. So they've all learned their lines from Twitter and Facebook. All right, Peter, what's your take?
I mean, again, we're not going to go into the technical parts of it here, but I think you gave a reasonable explanation or description of what's going on here. But we kind of have to step back here, is that a lot of these investors are like day traders and things like that. And, every once in a while, some of them get really good at it and get really lucky. But the correlation between day trading and committing suicide is very high, okay? You really have to have nerves of steel and you have to have some resources. I knew a young man that worked for me many, many years ago, and for 2 weeks, he was just really despondent and I was really beginning to get worried. I mean, he was physically declining and I almost fired him. I said, what's wrong with you? And he finally told me, he said, he was from Turkmenistan. He was a Russian, but he was born in Turkmenistan. He made it up to Moscow, got a job, and his parents were still stuck in Turkmenistan. And so he needed to buy them a house and quickly, and he did it, but he almost destroyed himself, almost got fired, okay? So, but what's really going on here is that this Reddit group using this app, I'm sure some of them have made some money, But that's not the point of this here. The point of it is that you have an unfair playing field, okay? Because you have a scale. Okay, the little guys obviously don't have scale. That's why we call them little guys. Okay, but what if a lot of little guys get together? Okay, and so, and as you pointed out, I mean, essentially, these major hedge funds, they're either borrowing the shares or they're buying the shares. Okay, and with the hope, with the plan that eventually you will make money off of destroying the value of the stock. It's very perverted, and it's very common. Actually, one of the probably the most well-known example is that there were a small cabal of people in October 1929 that made an absolute killing off of the stock market, the crushing of the stock market. And one of them, if I'm not mistaken, was a Joseph P. Kennedy, okay, who actually was running the stock market at the time, the exchange. Yes. Okay, but I mean, the interesting thing here, that this is, I want to point out, of course, there's some of these small investors have made some money, and maybe, enough to buy a car, or maybe even the best of the best, a house. Okay. But most of them haven't. This is a rebellion against the big players that have such a, I mean, they kick off this app. I mean, these people are so monopolistic in their thinking, and they're so rich. They're so unbelievably rich. Yes. And so when a group of people come together and with a concerted plan, and we're going to stick this out, because this, they're playing against, who knows? I mean, collectively $1 trillion against them. Okay. Right. And they're gambling the hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, maybe tens of thousands of dollars. You don't do that lightly, but it shows how angry people are. How angry they are that you can just destroy a company, because these big hedge funds, they're not interested in creating value. Forget all their propagandistic commercials, okay? They don't care about creating value. They'll destroy anything to fill their pockets. So this is a David and Goliath event here. And it's caught so many people's attention because it's not supposed to be this way. Well, when you have the rules rigged all to your advantage, I mean, I don't know much about this retail or this GameStop at all. I don't. Okay, I'm not a gamer and all that. But, my sense is it's, a small group of people came together and wanted to start a retail company, and, and they put everything into it. And then you have these mandarins on Wall Street that say, I see weakness here. Let's go and destroy them, clean them out. Okay. And then let's go for dinner. Okay. And that's exactly what this rebellion is all about. Not only is it gleeful to watch, but it's also just as gleeful to watch to see how the reaction is. How dare they do this to us? We had this all planned out. Okay, we were going to knock this place, destroy them into dust and blow them into the wind until the next victim comes along. Because I don't know that. See, but the funny thing about this whole tug of war going on now is that I seriously doubt that GameStop is worth its share price right now. That is showing just how bizarre the situation is. Because I worked in finance, I worked in equity research, and what people will say and do to increase the price of the stock, it's real. I find it immoral. It should be illegal. Okay, well, that's the thing. I mean, but my point is here is that they're not talking about real value.
That's the whole point. That's what hedge funds are about. People don't really know what exactly hedge funds are in the business of doing, but hedge funds essentially do not create value. They do not invest in a company. They don't seek to develop a company to see it grow and employ people. They are essentially in the business of betting. That's what they do. That's what they do. They bet against a company. And so this is essentially what has happened. And then, the idea being, of course, they will drive GameStop out of business. They will drive AMC out of business, BlackBerry or whatever. And that's fine. I mean, they've all made a killing, and it doesn't matter about the tens of thousands of employees who are suddenly out of work. And if somebody raises that issue, they say, hey, tough luck. This is capitalism. This is the way it works. This is the way the market works. And it's an amazing thing that they have got away with this thoroughly unproductive practice, even after 2008. You would have thought after 2008, there would be...
After the dot-com. After the dot-com.
Yeah, after the dot-com as well, exactly. And yet this sort of goes on. And now what you have is, again, these mom and pop investors, but they got together and mounted an attack against them and actually showed that it was now suddenly it's the hedge funds that are vulnerable, not the those small retailers like GameStop. So what happens? They start screaming for regulation, and suddenly the Treasury Secretary is sounding alarmed. Where
does that come from?
Yeah, what's happened to the free market? What's happened to capitalism? Hey, that's the way it goes. You bet some, you don't bet. You win, you lose. No. Suddenly, no. We can't have this. We can't have our these giant hedge funds losing.
The market must be broken. We're not making money.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, you bring up BlackBerry. BlackBerry is a very interesting example because obviously we all know that as a phone producer, BlackBerry, well, it was buried by Apple and Android. Okay. And I used to be an avid BlackBerry user. I loved Blackberries, but they kept putting phones out that had so many bugs in them. They would come out with a new one every 9 months, every 6 months, and they looked cool. And I loved holding the console. I really liked the keyboard, but so many other functions. It just had so many bugs in it. It really became irritating. However, what is the value of BlackBerry? It's encryption. It has really high value encryption services and technologies. And so these people that are going after BlackBerry, what they want to do is they want to break it down. They want to make it beg and to spin off their encryption services for a song. Okay. That's what they're trying to do. And everyone on the market knows BlackBerry is only worth something because of that. And so you go after them, okay? Now, GameStop, I don't know why they went after them. They saw weakness there, and then, they have their herd mentality to go swarming, but they just cannot understand that, Joe and Jill, sitting at home saying, or one's a day trader because they're in goddamn lockdown and they got nothing else to do. And they're looking and say, hey, look what's going on right here. We can mess this up and maybe we can make some money out of it, okay? I mean, for us, it's the double whammy, okay? Right. Is that the small guy gets to make a dime every once in a while. Amazing.
And it helps the real economy, which is people have jobs. We can't, imagine we just read a little story in the New York Times. Oh, GameStop has filed for bankruptcy. It's expecting mass layoffs. So we don't pay any attention to it because it's so much a part of everyday life in America that no one pays any attention to. Oh yeah, of course, big retailer out of business, everyone's out of work. Oh, okay, that's fine. Now we suddenly pay attention, but it's a good thing because essentially it saved GameStop, and it's the hedge funds, essentially parasites, who are suddenly complaining that they're out of pocket. It's a wonderful, happy story.
And what they're terrified of, George, is that the secret is out. The Pandora's box is open. These Reddit guys, I mean, these are revolutionaries, okay? And they're going to take on these really, really morally corrupt or bankrupt institutions that go around like vultures, hunting down and destroying any value. And of course, you point out quite rightly, people work there, and they have families. Okay. So, I mean, something's afoot right now, because now because it's easy to watch where the big guys are focusing their attention on. It's because it's all transparent on the market. You see where the shares are going. Okay. And then these people now have learned the lesson. They're going to keep their eye open. And if they see someone being targeted, they're going to screw them up again. Okay.
Exactly. And now these.
I mean, in this time of doom and gloom, and censorship, and the no one has got a plan to get out of this mess because they're all bickering about a guy that left office almost 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Okay, they can't get the damn check out, and now they're telling us they're going to open borders. And there's no different, there's no difference between gender and sexual orientation, the same thing. All this nonsense in front of us, and a few intrepid people said, "No more. This is one way we can fight back." Okay, yeah. I love it.
I have to say, I didn't think that this could be done. I mean, because I thought that the inequality between economic and financial power is too great for the little guys to challenge the big guys. But as you said, if you accumulate them, you create these internet chat boards, then suddenly people put all these money. I mean, it is a little like with the donors. We always have the corporate donors. That's it. Unless you have the corporate donors, you're done as a political candidate. But through the internet, people just put in $5, $10, $20, and suddenly, hey, a candidate has a lot of money at his disposal.
This is what it was supposed to be about in the very beginning, George. Was that, with the internet and a level playing field, you can actually create scale. You can create scale, and it happened finally. Okay, and it's going to be very interesting how people are going to move forward, because these people on Wall Street think it's their privilege to become rich, basically hitting a few screws. I mean, all these algorithms are being generated by a computer. I mean, all you have to do is literally sit back, and it's telling you weaknesses in stocks, and then you just say, call up your buddy, send me over 10,000 of your shares, okay, and I'm going to get some from over here, and then we're going to do this. We'll be done by lunch. Martinis on you.
Right. No, that's right. I think, as you said, the secret is out, and suddenly people say, well, so that's what hedge funds are doing. They're betting against the company and driving it out of business. And this is regarded as normal, and as opposed to the small-time investors who have decided to challenge these hedge funds, and they are abnormal, and they're engaging in hate speech. So,
well, I wonder what Mitt Romney's thinking, because that's how he made all of his money. Exactly. Bain Capital, that's what they did. Okay, exactly. I mean, you see, this is one of the things that people don't understand what has happened since the 1980s. It's called the financialization of the economy, and these people on Wall Street don't deal with the real economy. It's not a real place for them. It's one big, huge algorithm, is what it is. And I've worked with people in finance for a very short amount of time. These people are just they have no moral concerns or qualms about what they're doing at all. It doesn't mean anything to them. As a matter of fact, I worked near a trading desk for almost a year. And you know what they would do at the end of the closing, when there'd be the closing bell, whatever market they were covering? They all pulled out their calculators, and every single evening they determined their exact wealth at the close of the day. Everyone's doing it on their calculator, okay? How much money they made, how much money they made for the firm, and importantly, what their bonus would be, okay? That's it. It doesn't matter what a company makes, who owns it, none of this, okay? I've seen company reports. I've seen traders just take a company report, tear out everything except for the financials at the end. They're not interested in what the company is, what it does, what it makes, who works there. They just do that, okay? And you know what? That's for a certain type of people, and they're not. You don't have to be particularly intelligent either, okay? But it shows how the financial world is completely divorced, and why it will ultimately lose, because it's this whole discussion about equity. It's all in your head. It's not really well thought out. Do you think the Chinese care about equity? Do you think the Indians care about equity? They're going to say the Americans are screwing themselves again. This is about competition, okay, and being the best.
But that's the thing about when you bring up, that's when you bring up the issue of equity. It's, of course, the way the Biden people and Susan Rice are determining it, as if the issue is of equity between a white person and a black person. But in fact, the equity that is involved is the equity between, economic and financial power. That's the only equity that matters. But the whole idea, we must screw over poor white people because we want to favor poor black people because poor black people vote for us, that's a complete misunderstanding of what the issue is in the United States and everywhere. But that's deliberately the way the Biden people are gaslighting. Let's focus on
equity is a cover for inequality.
Right.
Here are these mandarins of the universe. Susan Rice is a very wealthy woman. Okay, her family is quite wealthy. Okay, Joe Biden is, well, we have to ask Hunter, but he's not for want. And the thing is that make people talk about race while we continue the neoliberal plundering of the economy with the greatest transfer of wealth upward in history, and they want to talk about equity. Wow.
That's it. And that's about it. And Glenn Greenwald wrote a very good tweet, I think yesterday. He's saying, well, the internet, the goal of the internet had been to equalize people's economic and financial power, and as well as their ability to speak on issues. And what we are seeing now is precisely the censorship that is being imposed, because heaven forbid it is indeed equalizing power. The internet is allowing people to challenge the titans of Wall Street. The internet is allowing people to challenge the titans of the media. No wonder they want censorship. No wonder they want to crack down people off hate speech or whatever.
The internet was supposed to be, in theory, where everyone can sit down at the table. But what it turned out being is that you and I sit at the table, George, and we're on the menu.
Yeah, that's right. That's it. And all those, the quote liberals unquote cheering on Twitter and Facebook. Oh, great! You're deplatforming Trump, Peter Navarro, Steve Bannon, all these bad guys. Great, yeah. And then saying, oh, and are you in favor of this as well? Are you going to, deplatforming people who are challenging the hedge funds? Well, you have to be. I mean, if you're in favor of these people just sort of kicking them off for hate speech, you got to support all of this. So it's fascinating to see liberals on the side of giant corporate power. That's it. Hit them hard.
George, it's snowing here outside. Someone must have said something hateful. I guess that's the correlation, yeah?
Yeah.
They insult our intelligence. I mean, the thing is that they can't legitimize what they're doing. And so you have to come up with these covers that are just unbelievable. You can't believe them, okay? So what people on Reddit are doing when it comes to this stock is hate speech and racism. Right. Wow, we're in a pathetic place.
Absolutely. Well, we will be maintaining our laser-like focus on Wall Street as per usual. And remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.